It's Oklahoma Archery. Everything archery based out of Oklahoma for Oklahomans. Let's get it started. Hello, everybody. I'm David Bosca, and this is the Oklahoma Archery Podcast.
I'm Neil Cooley, and today we've got Chris Nickerson with us. We want to tell you just a little bit about what he's got going on. We're going to tell some hunting stories, and real quick, I'm going to give you guys just a quick intro for Chris. He is the rep over several states here down south, Texas, Louisiana, for Blackgate trail cameras and feeders, Bristle Ridge precision ammo, Cobra Archery releases broadheads and sights, Halo knock lighted arrow knocks, Grizzly coolers and drinkware, Grizzly box blinds, Habit outdoor clothing, Illusion calls, game systems, phase scent control, Illusion prepackaged food plot systems, Latitude outdoors, saddles, climbing sticks and platforms, Mueller optics, rifle scopes, mountain mics, antler mounting systems, Montana decoy, nose jammer, outdoor pack game bags with disposable knives, Real Tree easy hangers, SKB bow and rifle cases, Shadow Creek grips for Matthews bows, True Caliber AR parts, Alta cutlery, Victory archery, Wasp broadheads, and Versa ring scope mounts. That's a mouthful, dude. You got a lot going on in the industry, so tell everybody.
It's a lot. You can see why.
That's gotta be a record.
Yeah, when people ask what brands do you represent, I'm like, you got a minute?
I bet when you walk in with your packet for the year, it's like this thick.
I try to minimize it and keep it short and sweet as much as possible. Obviously, with some of those brands, they're not applicable to every location I go to.
I'll say good luck fitting that on a shooter's jersey.
I try to streamline it for sure. So the only one you didn't mention on there, that's my fault. I don't have that list. HHA, all the HHA sites. That's a fairly new one for us. We're real happy to be working with them. Obviously, a really popular brand and a great site. And pretty happy to be working with those guys in the South. So.
Tell us your area. Tell us where you're from. Where you out of?
Yeah, so I currently live here in Texas. I'm kind of in central Texas. I'm about an hour and a half east of Austin. That's always my frame of reference. People ask where I'm from. It's like, I'm not in Austin. I live out in the sticks, but that's the closest city to me. I've been in Texas for going on 8 years, I guess it is. I was born here in Texas, but I was raised in New England, raised in Maine, spent most of my life in Maine. Did a little stretch in Florida. Came over here back to Texas. My sister and her husband and boys, my nephews are here. So that's what drew me over here. So I cover Texas, Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and all of Mississippi as my territory. So I've got a pretty good stretch of dirt I cover.
So how'd you get into target archery side of things before we get into hunting season? Tell us what you shoot. Tell us your setup.
So I have gone through a lot of different target bows in the last 3 years. First ever target bow I put in my hands only 4 years ago. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm fairly new at target archery compared to some guys. A buddy of mine sold me an Elite Result 36. It was my first target bow, and I've shot some Bowtechs. I've shot last year. I shot a Tidal. I shot a Verdict. I shot a Verdict last year for a while, and ironically, I've come full circle, and I went back to it the second half of the season, going back to that old Result 36. I've always kept it. It's been my backup, and I shot the heck out of that thing the second half of the year, and I've actually converted it over, and it's now my kind of a Western type of hunting rig. I'm shooting as a hunting bow right now, and I shot my first mule deer with it 2 weeks ago. So, but I was introduced to target archery through some guys in the industry. Showed up, ironically, my first ASA, my first target event ever outside of, when I was young as a child. I shot when I was, 10, 11, 12 years old with my dad way back in the day. But, fast forward to now, getting back into archery as an adult later in life, I stepped onto my first range and didn't know what I was getting myself into at the Pro-Am in Paris. That was my very first ASA and target event. So I went in and had no clue what I was getting into. So, but, I've been pretty consumed by it since. But that was my intro. Buddies in the industry got me into it. They encouraged me to go and just decided to show up. And looking back, it's quite funny because I look at some of the gear I had and what I was doing, and I was like, wow, I really embarrassed myself.
No, it's all good. Tell people from like a hunting background, what are some of the advantages of getting into target archery? Like going to a big shoot, like Paris still has the AMAM. It's May 17th through 19th, I think. So what could they expect at something like that, and why is it a good idea to go to?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And this first thought comes to my head right now is I've got a friend, Tim, who he's actually going to attack trying to get some more hunters into target archery by doing kind of a hands-on tutorial, just an intro to target archery, which I think is a great idea because I think a lot of hunters, not knowing anything about 3D, it can be a little intimidating, not knowing what you're getting into. And, you start doing some research and it can be a little confusing, not knowing the rules. And then people's ego kind of gets in the way too, is they don't want to show up and be embarrassed, or so they shy away from it. But I think that the biggest thing I could do to encourage hunters to get into target archery is just show up to an event. And you'll find if you just have the, I don't know how I'll say it, but just kind of the bravery or the, to just show up to an event and just grab someone and just ask them, say, hey, I'm brand new to this. Can you point me either yourself to what I need to do or someone that can help me? They'll find very, very quickly that everyone's like, oh, great, new person, come on in. And they'll be glad to help out. So just getting over that initial fear, I think, is the biggest hurdle for almost anyone that's on the hunting side that doesn't really know how to approach target archery and know anything about it. Don't be afraid to show up. I don't care what you have for a bow or equipment. No one's going to laugh at you. You might cut up on the range and make some jokes as you're into the targets and having fun, but no one's going to.
The best thing is half the people there are literally selling a bow that would probably fit you if you're right-handed and between 5'10" and 6'2". Everyone's got 3 different bows for sale.
If you walk off of any ASA range, I don't care where it is, after a round, you could probably target at least like 50 people that would sell their bow for like $50.
Fully loaded bars, sight, light kit, scope, everything. Give me $200 and done.
Yep, for sure. So,
so what group do you represent?
So I'm with the rep group, Gartland and Associates. They're based out of Ohio, but we cover the whole entire country. We're in every state, so we have a rep that covers every state in the country, even Alaska. So, but obviously my region is down here in the Southwest. But I think we've got 13 of us, 11 to 13. Something I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but. So,
is it Gartland or Gartland?
Yes. Okay. Gartland, Gartland, all one word.
Well, what's new with Gartland?
What's new? Well, they've been around for a long time. So if you're not familiar with them from outside the industry, when you get inside the industry and you start talking, to other reps, it's a pretty small network of people. So they've been around for a long, long time. Bill Senior, I don't even know the year he started, but I should know that, but it's been a long time. What's new with them? We're always changing something or looking to grow. So as I mentioned just a minute ago, bringing on HHA was a new one for us. That's the newest brand we're working with right now. We're always looking for opportunities to bring some representation to companies that need it out there that we can help grow. There's been several companies over the years that we've taken on in the same capacity where this manufacturer is looking to get more exposure at the dealer level. And that's what we specialize in. We specialize in, going to the dealers and bringing product and getting exposure for that product and basically helping move the needle on sales. So, but to answer your question, short form right now, HHA is the newest thing we've got going on. And like I said, we've always got some stuff in the works on the back burner. Some of it comes to fruition and some of it does not. So it's just kind of the nature of the deal.
Well, since Oklahoma Archery Podcast is the leading industry for podcasting in Oklahoma, we got any new news or new products that we can be the groundbreaking world in?
You actually do. I'm glad I brought that up because, ironically, I have not talked about this publicly at all. And obviously, I have some restrictions on what I can talk about. But with Victory Archery, we obviously are a really big, in the aerospace. We are gaining a lot of market share in the industry, and we're growing super, super fast. And in my opinion, We've got the best products out there. And a little bit of backstory with Victory too is I actually was shooting Victory and ended up getting the position working for Gartland as the rep for Victory, just because of friendships I had built with a couple of the guys that were already reps that I had met at a Total Archery Challenge. We became friends, and then it just one thing led to another. And, you know, when an opportunity came up, they called me. So I was already on board with Victory on the consumer side as a customer long before, you know, I was working for them. So it was pretty exciting for me to be able to come and represent them later on. But Victory, they're pretty focused on technology, you know, and advancing technology with arrows. There's several things that are unique about Victory on the technology side that no one else has. We have that ice coating, we do the spine aligning. There's a lot of cool stuff they do. So they're always looking to bring new product to the table. It's been a couple of years since we've launched any new product. But this year for 25, we're actually going to be launching some new arrows that, like I mentioned, we haven't talked about yet. So this is, to my knowledge, this is the first time publicly we're even talking about it today. So you guys are privy to some information here that no one else has. Obviously, some limitations of what I can say, because we do have to keep some of that stuff pretty guarded, but I can give you a general overview. One arrow that, and you'll have to bear with me on this one because this is actually just in the prototype stages right now. But I will have some product in hand later in the year to actually show the finished product. But the one I wanted to talk about right now, it's actually something brand new, and Victor doesn't even know I'm talking about this one right now. But this one here, it's called the Triple Threat. It's actually something I designed right here at the house, believe it or not. And I call it the Triple Threat because it has FOC, it has total mass, and this is an arrow that will actually tune to any bow at any poundage. You guys might want to get ready for this one, okay? This is going to be, hold on. Dun, dun, dun.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's actually it's the DGT. Y'all know what that stands for, right?
Tell me.
Didn't go 20, right?
Didn't go 20.
Only this arrow is designed so that it doesn't go more than 20. Okay.
That's
so
got to have some.
Everyone knows that if you shoot a white-tailed deer, that the worst case scenario is always shooting that little tiny leg bone in the front, right? So we decided we're going to put all of our eggs in one basket and build an arrow that even if you shoot it in the toenail, it won't go 20. So there you have it, folks. The DGT. And yes, those are real turkey feathers from my birds. So
I was going
to. Those are home source, made right here in the U.S. So anyhow, all jokes aside,
handcrafted.
All jokes aside, we do have some new stuff coming out. We've got, as it stands right now, 3 arrows coming out this year. One that I can tell you a little bit of detail about, it's going to be a hunting arrow. And the only thing I can really tell you about this arrow is this is going to be geared towards the hunter that wants, this isn't going to be like a heavy GPI arrow. It's going to favor more the lighter side. But it's going to be a brand new carbon that has not been used before. This is a brand new carbon. It's going to be a weave carbon. So we're known for having the weave carbon like on our RIP SSs. They've got the 90-degree weave. The RIP TKOs have the 45-degree weave. It's going to be a weave carbon like that, but it's going to be a different material than we've ever used, and no one's ever used this material before. So it's pretty exciting there. It's also going to have, as it stands right now, it looks like it's probably going to have a new component on it. I don't know how wild we're going to get with that, but it is going to be something a little different. And then also, this is also geared towards the guy that wants to do some like precision, longer range focused shooting. So we all know that TAC style events, the guys up at SHOT, Tim and those guys up there, they've been doing events like that, and that's become extremely popular. So we're building an arrow right now that's going to be able to be used kind of dual purpose, honestly, for stuff like that. This is going to be a super accurate long range type arrow, but also geared towards, the hunter. So as I can share more details about that, once I actually get some product in hand and I get the green light to actually show it to you, I definitely would like to revisit this with you guys, but I'm pretty excited about it. Everything I'm hearing about it and testing sounds really good. And I really can't wait to show it to everybody, in a public format. The second set of arrows that are going to be coming out. It's going to be a target version and a hunting version of this arrow. And the only thing I can say is that I forgot to shut my phone off.
All good.
That may be Victory calling right now going, what are you doing?
What do you consider a target shaft? Are you talking about line busters? Are you talking about 246 diameter, 204 diameter? What are your
I wish I could give you a really straight answer on that.
Okay.
That's actually the big hang up on this is I can't discuss what diameter it is, but I will tell you this whole arrow, the way it's being built, it's something you've never seen anywhere before. It's completely different. There's nothing like it out there. And that's both on the target side and the hunting side. So that will also be in a new carbon. So you can expect to see a different carbon, but also in just a different type of design that's never been done before. So, and that's really as deep as I can go on that. They're really guarding the details of that one pretty closely. I do know what it's going to be, but I'd like to keep my job with Victory.
They it seems like what's it like when competitors, like everybody's got the new UV arrows that are supposed to be, what's it like being on the industry trying to like come up with innovations and not let your competitors figure out what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's a concern. You know, we have to be careful, just like any other industry. It's very competitive. So auto industry is the same way. Any other industry where there's multiple competitors at a high level, you've got to be careful about what kind of information you put out there, because it has happened in the past where, you know, your information gets leaked through a channel, through somebody that talked too much, and next thing you know, competitor over here is pumping out a product almost exactly like what you were talking about. So you do have to be careful about that, you know. But one thing I can say is that, like you mentioned, the UltraView. The UltraView topic is interesting because you see a lot of people online reading comments that are getting upset about the price point of those arrows. And my quick hot take on that is I'm glad that they exist on the really high end, and I'm glad things exist on the really low end. I think we need all of that. And I think the people that are getting upset about those expensive arrows saying it's going to ruin the industry, they couldn't be more wrong. They couldn't. I kind of give the analogy. It's like, you know, they make Ferraris every day, but they're not geared, you know, towards everyone. Everyone's not supposed to be buying a Ferrari.
Yeah, we're at a point in archery where the bows can only get so much better, and the sights and the releases they're as precise as they're going to be able to make them. The only thing that can continue to innovate at a quick pace is arrows, and in probably 20 to 25 years, everyone's going to have a carbon printing thing where you design it exactly to your spine and it prints you the arrow. So we're only going to have arrow manufacturing as we currently know it for another couple of decades. Like, they're going to have a program designed where it like has your exact spine, and you can just get them set as a preset to custom exactly your draw length, exactly your spine. So until then, let them figure out every way they used to. Like when I was younger, I was looking at getting a set of Easton ACEs or X10s that back then they were $380 a dozen. Right. Now they're $500, and you know they've won every gold medal in the last I don't know how many Olympics. So you see, it's like they're coming up with stuff that's better and better. It's going to outpace the bows. It's the arrows that are.
Yeah, I agree, and I just think who knows where, like you said, who knows where it will go. But I love to see, you know, people standing up and taking a swing at something new, because that's just innovation is where it's at, and. I personally like it. You know, am I going to go buy that product? Maybe, maybe not. I understand why people may not, but that's why there's an arrow for everyone, you know, and the market always dictates what's going to happen with purchasing power. And if at the end of the day, in 12 months from now, if that arrow is not meeting the numbers they want, they might can it and not do it ever again. That's just how the industry works. I don't see that happening, but you know, just as an example, that's how the market works with everything that we buy. You know, so it's there for people that want it, and there's other options for people that don't. That's just kind of a long and short of how I see that.
Are you at liberty to say their projection as to when this might be out? Q1? Are they hoping mid-year Q2?
Yeah, they're hoping. Yeah, they're hoping to have it for the beginning of the year. You know, obviously
at the ATA show.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope always, but there's a lot of challenges when it comes to an arrow because. And that's this ties right into the UltraView thing. You know, when you design a new product, like UltraView is a new diameter. So you have to have tooling for that. That tooling didn't exist. So someone has to foot the bill for producing tooling to build the arrow therefore to make the end product so the consumer can buy it. That is all tied up in that price. So not only that, like with what we're doing, you have a new arrow. Let's say you set on a diameter, you set on a type of carbon, just the carbon testing to make sure that this carbon that you're using is going to work requires quite a bit of time and testing. Then you start manufacturing the arrow. And then, oh, by the way, you have to come up with 6 different spines of that same arrow. So it's almost like you're building 6 different arrows, and they all have to meet the quality control standards. They have to pass testing. So we might build a 300 and 350 spine that are golden. Then all of a sudden you get to the 400 or the 250 and it just goes wonky, so there's a lot involved in it. I don't particularly know all the details of it, but I know there's a lot. So it just takes some time.
We need to get your number, people, like whoever's the glasses wearing fella in the white lab coat. We need to get his numbers over to Tom Stevenson, who's developing. He got all the listings from Lancaster years back on his archery path for all the arrows and components to set in there. Well, when you guys start coming out with new stuff, he's going to need to streamline it in. It's a program that he's built for his it's recurve right now, but it will be for compounds in the future. Okay. It presets your arrows, your spine with your weight, and figures out. It's an optimizer, basically. It's an arrow selection program to get the right spine on it. So stuff like that, when you're working with, younger archers or short draw length, low poundage, whatever, it just allows you to customize without cutting them up and actually testing them, because you know what all goes into it and how many you have to go through to find that optimal one. So
I got you.
That'd be a great connection to get you hooked up with.
What is the name of his business or program? What is that?
Archery Path. It's Dave could look it up. It'd be archerypath.com, archerypath.org.
I'm not familiar with it, but I'll look into it for sure.
It's come out in the past year and a half, I think. So it's fairly new. It's pretty cool. It does some stuff that your typical arrow selection charts don't. Like it not only selects and optimizes, but figures out a few other variables. It's a little over my head, but I know enough about it to tell the people that are actually working on developing new stuff as far as grains per inch, spine, what kind of carbon, how that different carbon reacts under pressure. And then he matches it up with the draw force curve charts to figure out exactly where it's doing that in a nutshell.
He's a brain that once you get to talking with him, you will respect what he says and what he doesn't say. I know it's crazy to think, but he's been an engineer for Easton. He's been an engineer for a handful of companies. And he has worked with probably the top 6, 8, 10 recurve archers in the world, getting their arrows and everything set up. He is really, he's crazy. It's crazy good what the man can do.
Yeah. And he can shoot too. He's senior men's U.S. national team.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And he's got 25, 26 national titles himself. I mean, the man is just phenomenal. So, that information. And the only thing I don't know what he would be able to set up is that arrow that you've developed yourself. That one might be a little tough.
I will say, I'm pretty proud of this thing. I just, I don't know if you look real close, but this is there's 3 tubes in here. So
327s and an FOC collar.
Yeah. So, and I think really someone ought to pick up the ball with this thing and do something. I think it's got potential. So, and also I forgot to mention earlier, we all hear about, double bevel, and then we know that single bevel is better than that. This one's got the 0 bevel. So it's got to be better. We're going in that direction.
How do you sharpen that thing?
You don't have to. It's amazing.
Blunt force. Man, I don't know about walking through one of. Is that what you took on your hunt?
Yeah, I was wishing I had something like that a few times. We had some brush in the way, and I was like, man. I'm actually getting ready to go to Colorado. I'm leaving Saturday, so. But
what unit are you going to?
We're in 65, I think. That's how prepared I am. I've got a pin on my map. I'm just driving there. I know that's where we're starting. So,
yeah. Well, you've talked about two releases. Is there a third one, or are we done?
No, that's it. So that one shaft is going to have 2 versions. So that's the 3 in total. Right. So correct.
3 new victory arrows coming out this next sometime.
Yep. So we're shooting for the first of the year. Like I said, just really going to depend on some of that testing. But the hope is to, they will be available for 25. I'm really fingers crossed, hoping it's going to be at the beginning of the year. But we're still in the process of working on some of that stuff. So we'll see what happens there.
Cool.
So working on the dealer side, I got a question for all the archery people out there who are, either tournament archers or hunting archers or want to get more involved with a rep. What's the best case scenario? Like, who are you looking for as a rep to represent your brands? Like, how does the common everyday archer who, you might hit some tournaments, you kill big deer in the fall. What are you looking for as far as like constituents out there?
Now, I'm assuming you're referring to people to be like staff shooters and things like that.
Yeah, field staff positions. Going to trade shows, stuff like that. Do you just is it all Instagram hashtags and product reviews, or is there something that's actually useful to you out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that's beautiful about with Gartland and some of the brands that I work for directly is they give me a lot of freedom. They make me they allow me to make a lot of calls on how I handle some of the stuff like this within some certain parameters. But Victory especially, and SKB is great also, and they allow us as reps to kind of custom tailor how we're managing some of this, because at the end of the day, our goal as a rep is to, just like I said earlier, help move the needle on sales. We're always trying to promote that brand more, get more exposure in dealerships, get just more overall sales for the year, and continually build on that. So for me personally, what I'm looking for is someone who is going to be active within their local dealer. So I look at every person that I bring on as a staff position with me as someone who could potentially help that dealer. I look at it like a triangle. There's me, there's the shooter, and then there's the dealer. All three of us can achieve the things we want to achieve and piggyback off of each other without taking away from anyone else. That staff shooter can get the product they need and the help they need. I'm getting what I need if we're all doing our job with sales in the dealership. And the dealership's happy because they're getting sales. So we all work cohesively together, and that's what I'm focusing on. Number one, is this person a team player? Are they going to show up at dealer events? Are they going to be a good representation of the brand when we're on the range talking? When there's an opportunity, are you going to be able to step in and show either a youth shooter or someone that's new, or maybe a person that's having a problem, and be able to direct them towards a product that we offer that would be a solution to that? Those are the things I'm looking for. Secondarily to how good of a shooter is this person? I may sound wrong to say that, but that's kind of low on the totem pole for me. Obviously we want great representation. We want skilled shooters out there, but that's not the most important metric to me. It's important, but I could have the best shooter in the world, and if they don't talk to people, they don't talk about the brand, they are too stuck up to go to a dealer event and volunteer some of their time, well, then that person is almost essentially worthless to me with what we're all trying to accomplish. So in target archery, unfortunately, with the staff shooter situation, has a fairly negative reputation with dealers, especially older dealers, because a lot of these staff shooters, unfortunately, are takers and they're not giving back. And that's something I've been addressing with everyone that I work with, is that we're not here just to show up, sign on the paper, and get your free arrows for the year and then disappear off into the sunset. We're here to help promote each other, help the sport grow, help the businesses grow, help the brands grow. And if all you're doing is showing up, taking free product, I call them, product grabbers. Those product grabbers, if they're just looking for that so they can put some hashtags on their Instagram and then you never see them again all year, that's not a good relationship for a dealer. And dealers get soured on that after a while when they've got 10 people wearing their shooter jersey on the range, but they're just a liability because all they're doing is taking product out of their store and nothing is coming back in on the other end. So that's something that in my territory, I'm pretty aggressively working on repairing so that we all have good relationships and kind of revitalizing the view of target archers, for some of these dealers. I think that's something that needs a little work everywhere, specifically in my territory too. So
It's
that's
here in
something.
Oklahoma. It's hard being a target archer because the shops know you get it, you either get everything for free or you buy it used for a fraction. You walk into the shop every day, shoot holes in their targets, never spend a dime. It's just all about them, all about me, all the time. So,
Sure.
looking at it from having somebody on that's actually got experience in the industry, and it's like, man, when you're in that position, you can, like, when the left hand talks to the right hand, you can do so much cool stuff when you have the resources. And it's like trying to get people involved in it from the outside looking in. It's like, where does a new person even jump into this? You know, do I just show up and shoot my bow? It's like, that's exactly what you do. And you find somebody who's new, and if you don't recognize them, that means you don't know that person. So you probably need to go figure out who that is. So it's putting names to faces. Like, you see him turn a scorecard in, and you're like, oh, that's who so-and-so is. After about 2 or 3, you kind of get their name down. And that's what we're looking for, guys. That's the secret to it. I've heard a lot of shops and a lot of high level guys say it's personal relationships is all it is. I know that if I need this out at Tuesday at 2 p.m. is when it's got to be there. Yeah, you can call him Sunday. He'll send you probably 1 or 2 or 3 of his own. No problem.
Right.
So
when I first got into this industry, I'll lean back on 2 experiences I had that kind of relate to this. So I had a sales director years ago. I used to work for an insurance company for a short time. It was like a crazy transition. I was trying to get out of. I used to be a machinist for many years, and then I wanted to kind of get out of having a dirty job to a little bit more of a white collar type job. Got into some insurance. Did really well in it, but I hated it. But one of my sales directors, he was an excellent man. Just low pressure sales guy that just understood sales. He had this saying that he'd bring up every once in a while that always stuck with me and resonated. He said, if you help enough people in life get what they want, you'll always get what you want. And that's always stuck with me. And so I've kept that mindset through everything else I've done since. And when I decided that I wanted to transition out of what I was doing before to trying to get into this, I actually, the friends I had that worked for Victory, I went to them and said, hey, how do you get into this industry? Like, I didn't understand anything about it. And people ask me that all the time. And they said, well, man, you just kind of got to meet the right people and hope an opportunity comes up. And they pointed out a few people this was at a Total Archery Challenge in San Antonio. And they pointed out some people that were, notable people in different rep groups and different brands. And this is so-and-so, and this is so-and-so. And so I marched myself over to the tent, the elite tent. The guys from the outdoor group that were there, Blake and Paul Gio were there. And I went straight to Paul. I didn't know him from anything. I just introduced myself to him, shook his hand, and I just frankly said, I don't know anything about this industry, but I'm super interested in trying to figure out how to get into it. What is your recommendation? And Paul was great. He talked to me for, probably 45 minutes. And he basically told me, he said, if I were you, I would just get your name into people's brain as much as you can. Go to shops, show them, go to your local shop, which at the time was West Houston Archery. He's like, go hang around with those guys, make yourself useful, offer yourself up. And he goes, if enough people see that you're willing to put work in and help and be an asset, then eventually you'll probably get an opportunity. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I try to push that mindset onto some of these guys that are coming in from the target world. And a lot of them are younger guys where they've shot for a couple, 3 years, and they think that they are Levi Morgan and they are just ready to rip and that everybody should know their name. And they've, quote, proven themselves because they won one state title or podiumed at a pro-am, and they think they've got it all wrapped up and we should all be calling them. And I've tried to share that mindset with them that, you've got to continue to just show your value outside of your own selfish goals of, podium or winning a pro-am or whatever it might be, and show that you're an asset to another company or another organization. You can bring value to what they have going on. So that's been my major focus with the whole, staff shooter situation. And so far it's working pretty good, and I'm happy with where it's going.
Do you still get to go to some local events? Do you get to just have fun and shoot, or is it like a can't turn the job off kind of thing?
Well, I've made it through maybe 2 or 3 events where people didn't find out that I'm the rep for Victory, and I just try not to say anything. But it usually comes up because you know how small the archery community is. It's like I shoot K50 and, pretty much everybody knows everybody. But I do try to show up and just shoot. But, yeah, it's inevitable that people want to talk arrows and this and that. And, of course, a lot of people bust my chops, too. try to razz me like, oh, I miss these terrible arrows you've got and yada, yada, all these corny jokes. And okay. But no, it's cool. It's not, I love this. And I got into this because I love this industry. And so it's not a prize, not being able to shut off work doesn't bother me at all. But I do shoot a lot of local events, and I'm quite close with a lot of guys I shoot with. Made some really good friendships. Seems like every time I go somewhere, I meet somebody new that either comes up and talks to me, or we just shoot together and make a new friend. And I've stayed in contact with a lot of guys over the years that I've just met through this. Actually, matter of fact, one of my good buddies that I hunt with, that I went to Arizona with, we met because I'm the rep, and mutual friend introduced us, and we've become really good hunting friends now. And we go on trips together, and so I built a lot of relationships based on that, which is pretty cool.
You want to go into a little hunting season stuff before we let you go, or
sure, absolutely, yeah.
I was going to say, tell everybody. I know the target archery season's kind of winding down, and everybody's got to go hunt before.
No. It's winding up. We're getting into indoor season.
Okay, so before we get to hunting stuff,
we're going from this to this.
There we go.
Indoor season, baby.
Tell us what tournaments you're going to hit next year. Give everybody kind of a roadmap for the tournament stuff, and then we'll talk some hunting stuff, and we'll let you go, man. I know you're busy.
Yeah, so I almost always hit the opener at Foley. That's always kind of a no-brainer. When the season opens up for 3D, hitting Foley. I'm always at the Total Archery Challenge in Oklahoma and San Antonio. I'm always at the booth there, so you get to see my ugly face for a whole long weekend if you roll through there.
How many arrows do you sell at the biggest tack event? What is the record?
I'm glad you asked that, because this surprises people a lot of times. We don't sell directly to consumers. So when I have the booth set up, I do not sell arrows directly to the public.
You don't take them there.
And that's an important point for dealerships. So understanding the kind of inside the industry, we do not sell direct to consumer. You cannot jump on Victory's website and buy arrows directly from Victory. We support dealers very, very closely. That's 100% what our focus is, because if you are an arrow manufacturer and then you're trying to grow your business in dealers, and then all of a sudden a person comes into your store, buys a certain arrow, they go home, then they just start buying them online. You've just cut the dealer's throat. So we don't do that. If you buy arrows online, it's from a legitimate Victory dealer somewhere. So that's something I'm actually pretty proud about. What we do is we're continuing to support the archery industry in that manner, so that we don't cut the dealers out of the equation. But to your point about how many we sell, it's crazy. I'll have, like at San Antonio, I'll probably have 6 or 7 of my local dealers show up with vendor booths there, and we sell out everything they've got usually, unless they bring some weird spine, like a really high spine or something like that. But it's crazy. It's a big weekend. Yeah, so,
there's like two arrow saws going all the time. Bring 7 tubes of epoxy and every component you have. Like it's the yearly go through the drawers and reorganize them all by weights and go verify that the right bins have the right weights in there, and then take them all to tack and come home empty-handed. Like,
I've sold out multiple dealers super quick. Like my complaint is they never bring enough product. But
I got good news and bad news for you. Which one do you want to hear?
I'm not scared of bad news, so hit me with it.
I shoot Victory on air. I've got hunting arrows at Victory. I've got skinny arrows. I've got 23s, 25s, and 27s. Okay. I like them. I've never shot them at tack. I shot Black Eagles my second year, and the first year I think was some old Eastons. That wasn't doing any. It wouldn't do anything. Yes, it was like X Impacts, and then it was Rampages or Carnivores, one of the two. I don't know, but I've lost probably 3 dozen arrows at TAC Oklahoma, but never Victory. Never.
So I have a strategy and a theory on that. People say, "Oh, I shoot cheap arrows because I'm going to lose a bunch, right? I don't want to ruin my good arrows, right?" This year alone, I saw a staggering number of people versus the last few years that were shooting Rip TKOs at TAC. I was shocked because usually people would shoot the Rip XVs or they would just shoot something else they didn't care about. But I saw a staggering number of people carrying their Rip TKOs, and it's their actual hunting arrow. And so I've come to this conclusion, a little bit of a theory on this. I think if you shoot a really expensive arrow, you are way more apt to be minding your P's and Q's out there and focusing and making a good shot. Otherwise, you're just grip and rip and you don't care. So
Yeah.
I think there's something to that. I really do.
Yeah, it's always it's a risk versus reward kind of thing. Yeah. Like usually some 400 spines, because I would never take my actual hunting bow just because I really do baby it, and I was shooting Full Metal Jackets out of it at the time, and they're not going to bounce off a tree and be any good for October 1st. So it was like, okay, what do I have that I can take that I can, shoot this and that? But I'm liking I shoot rips. I shoot 350s. Got them at the state 900. I kind of went away from the micros just because I got tired of pulling them, shooting field in the target archery. Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's a 204. That's enough of a line buster for how good I shoot, and that's pretty much how the weekend went. It was a rough one, but no, it wasn't the arrows.
Right. So hunting, you want to get in some hunting stuff?
We better talk just a little elk hunting, a little whitetail, and whatever else you're getting into.
Sure. So I've gone for the last 3 years, actually 2 years, to Arizona doing over-the-counter mule deer hunt, and was not successful my first 2 times. And then this was it probably two weeks ago I got back, I guess it was, and finally was able to get on a lot of bucks in this little area that I found, and I messed up an opportunity on an absolute giant. The very first day, we were literally driving up this road, and it was like right there. Like I hadn't even taken my bow out of the case, and this giant buck. And then I whiffed that one, and hunted hard for, I think it was day 5. I finally got on the one I shot. He was a forky with an extra tine on one side and had some weird junk on his bases. So had 3 main points on one side. The other side was a true fork. And then just one side, the side with just the fork had like a double small brow tine. So it's had some interesting character to it. Was able to take him. We hunted for 3 more days. And, my buddy Coda, he got his. He shot a nice 3x3. So that was pretty exciting. I'm hooked on mule deer hunting after this year. Like, man, so things started clicking and figuring out some stuff. And we got on a lot of deer, and it was a lot of fun. So I got that behind me. I'm leaving Saturday to go elk hunting, doing over-the-counter.
What kind of shot distances on your mule deer? Are you thinking 40 is going to be a minimum out to as far as you can get, or is there like a reasonable range?
So it's going to depend on the type of terrain you're into. So we've hunted some in the absolute open desert, and then another place we hunted was more in the mountains and wooded. The desert, I feel like it's kind of weird because there's not as much cover, but it's also easier to see what you're getting up on, so you can, work with that as the deer's reacting. But when it's really wooded, you don't have a lot of room for error, in my opinion, because they've got a lot of cover and they're able to get into areas more like whitetail. Whitetail, try to stalk a bedded whitetail, right? And it's favoring more of that side, in my opinion. But even so, we struggled to get inside of like 60. Like it was tough. And to my surprise, and this could just be the region we were in, the smaller bucks were kind of acting like those old nanny does, just blowing and snorting and everything, stomping. It was the little bucks that were raising Cain and causing us problems and busting us. The big bucks didn't seem to care, which was surprising to me. I was the big buck I was referencing. There was a little tiny forky. His tines were barely forked out, and he had us pegged and was stomping, and that big buck was feeding away, didn't have a care in the world. And that little buck is the one that actually ended up blowing it for us. So, but yeah,
that's why I shoot every one of them. You gotta nip that in the bud quick.
Yeah, when you get towards the end of those hunts, it's like bigger, smaller deer are looking bigger real quick.
I mean, you're gonna bringing home an empty tag. I mean, I'd shoot if it's day 4. I'm sending it out of doe. I'm probably gassed out on halfway through day 1. So by then it's just can we go home yet? Thump. Yeah. Let's go.
We found it pretty easy to get like to 100. Like it was pretty effortless. And again, it changes depending on the terrain and which spot you're in. But getting to 100 was pretty easy. it's like you start stepping inside at 80, and then it's like you got to start minding your business pretty carefully there. But I took a pretty long shot on the one I shot, and a lot longer than I wanted to. But
what's your hunting rig? Run us down a.
Yeah. So remember earlier I was talking about the target rig. I've gone back to my old Result 36. I actually, because my background as a machinist, I got a little funky with what I was doing with it. I dug that bow out and I painted it like a desert tan, the riser, and I custom built a pick mount for the front of the riser. And I'm running a pick mount HHA Tetra Max on the front of it with a pick mount configuration. And I took my Hamskey, I've got an Epsilon that I mounted, and I took the core mount off the back of the bracket, direct mounted it to the riser also. So it's all streamlined in line with the riser. It's pretty unique. So,
and it's the same Result 36.
It's that Result 36. Yep. And
36-inch hunting bow for Western muleys. That's what I like to hear, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm a tall guy. I'm a long draw. I'm 30 5/8 draw length. I'm 6'4". I'm a big dude. So like that bigger axle bow, I shoot very, very well. So I'm gonna whitetail hunt with it too. Like I do a ton of saddle hunting. I'm also the Latitude rep. And 99.9% of the time when I'm whitetail hunting, I'm in a saddle somewhere. I do a ton of public land hunting. So I'm going to give it a go. A lot of guys fuss about longer axle bows, but this thing fits me like a glove, and I'm gonna let it rip, see what I can do.
The saddle's pretty free up there. It's not like there's anything in the way of that big giant bow. I hunt with a 34. I don't saddle hunt. I have one. I actually have a Latitude one, I think. I have like the 0.5 something and the big old giant dude double XL with where it comes out where it's magnet. Yeah, the seat magnets together, and then I think so. I don't know. I bought it and I used it once, and I shot a group at 35 yards, and weak side 35-yard group, not strong side 35-yard group, and it was shot a lot of deer out of a ladder stand. But I do want to I want to carry one with me because you could use a regular saddle just as your safety harness, and you can take the same climber, ladder, whatever you're hunting out of, flip 180 degrees and shoot your weak side's now your strong side, and it gives your back a break. It gives you lower, like everything else that you've been sitting there crunched in a cold tree. You ought to have a harness on either way, but from what harness can you turn around and now you can shoot all the way around backside of your tree? It just gives you another option. And if it's something that'll make these guys wear a safety harness, we tell them every year, somebody, what happened? Oh, he jumped up in a stand that has been there for 15 years and the squirrels chewed through the cables and now his legs went the wrong way. Like, okay, great. He's going to be in an awesome mood for indoor season.
I had the normal learning curve everyone else does with the saddle, where you get up there and you just feel like you're just trying to hug the tree, but it's like you've got to lean into the equipment, let it do its job, and I don't feel – there's nothing you could put me in a tree that makes me feel more safe than my setup I've got for a saddle. You're always attached to the tree. I'm always got weight leaning against it. I feel super, super secure. I sat in a buddy of mine's lock-on setup last year. He's got a preset. Same thing, no harness, no nothing. I'm climbing up these sticks, and I get all the way to the top, and you got to step around the tree, and I'm like hugging the tree. I get sat down, and I'm like, this ain't for me. Like I'm just out there hanging off. It's kind of leaned downhill a little bit. Like I'm out. I'm good.
Like I've got the pre-rigged Prusik safety lines, but at the end of the day, you're still climbing up there to get it attached the first time. And, I get to the bottom, I hook in, I clamp up, you run it around there, wear it all the way up, hook in, safety line, throw your tether, and you can hunt, hunt it for hang on for morning and take your saddle with you every time you go. Fits in a backpack real easy. I know Oakeyland just started carrying all that stuff. So everyone's excited running down there. They had a tree installed at their indoor range where the guys come up with a post and a big V out into the ceiling. So you can come test shoot your saddle at the indoor range. Crossways. Yep. It's pretty cool.
I'm actually going to be putting on a little seminar here at my house on my property in 2 weeks for that reason, because a lot of guys they would love to do it, they're intimidated by it, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't have a shop that can guide them like you're talking about there. So I'm actually putting on a free clinic here at my house on weekends, and
it's just reps. If you did it every time you shot your bow, you could go do it in the dark. I can do it in my yard 4 feet up my tree, but going and doing it at 5:45 in the morning in the dark while trying not to make a single sound when it's cold and you're bundled up, you got to be comfortable. You got to be familiar with it. But the thing about it is the only way they're going to strap to a tree. If they're climbing, they're like, what? No, why would you do that? I'm like,
yeah. I've done it so many times now that I literally could climb in the dark with no light. And I've done it. I've climbed I one stick too and rappel down. So it's a little easier in my opinion because less you got to worry about going down. You just grab your platform and go down. And but I've done it in the dark, pitch black, like all by feel. Like I've done it so many times and I'm so comfortable doing it. It's pretty. I got my process pretty streamlined, so I like it. It's a lot of fun if nothing else. It's a good time.
Well, I'm envious of you because I'll be killing them out of a ground blind, a hay bale blind, a temporary ground blind, a tripod, and 3 ladder stands.
There you go. Hey, whatever it takes, man. I don't throw shade on whatever anyone's system is, whatever works, and depending on where you live too and what you got going on for the environment around you.
I think in the past 10 years I've killed 1 deer off the ground, and it was a tripod.
Same. I on my property, I'll shoot a doe or 2 off my back of my property here, and that's usually from a ground blind. But that's about the only time I hunt from the ground is right here. So I feel weird sitting on the ground. I feel like I'm just sticking out like a sore thumb. But
I don't notice just the box of Whispering Death in the corner.
Right.
So once you get back from your mule deer, you're headed to elk season, and then what's on tap for 2025? What do you got coming up?
So actually, I've got more going on this year. I'm going to Colorado, and then I grew up in Maine, and I typically go back up and hunt Maine every year. I was not going to go this year because the hunting up there is really hard. I mean, there's pockets where there's good deer, and there's tons of big. I shouldn't say tons. There's big bucks up there, but they're few and far between. You can go for days and not see a deer. So I was a little discouraged over the last couple of years. I lost a nice 8-point to coyotes 2 years ago, immediately after I shot it. And then last year I got skunked, and I wasn't going to go back this year, but I decided I am going to and try a new piece next to a friend of mine. It's property up there. So I'll be going up there mid-October.
How do you scout it when it's so far away, when like cross country stuff like that? Do you have somebody run your cams for you, or is it kind of you just kind of know where they might be? How do you approach something?
I know the landscape up there pretty well just from growing up there, so I kind of know what I'm looking for. I know the areas that are going to be really swampy and swale grass and all that kind of stuff, so I know the things to avoid. But a lot of times I just get up there and I just go in with my saddle and I'm just shooting from the hip, just running and gunning, trying to find sign in the window of when I'm there, and see what I can find. And like I said, a couple years ago, I wasn't there 2 days and I shot a nice 8-point. And then last year I saw some giant bucks crossing the alfalfa field 300 yards from me, like 160, 70-inch deer, 2 of them. And just, they were over there. So I was like 2 days. I watched them come out over there. I go down there, and then they came out over here, and I was just playing cat and mouse. So it's a lot of just, living in the moment of what I've got to deal with while I'm there, and just, processing the information as it comes. So I don't have a ton of scouting before I get there. It's pretty tough country up there.
You got to be okay saying, I'm going for the experience. It's hunting season. I'm going to go hunt anywhere I got access or a chance. Because I remember being a little bit like, Dad, if we get up in the morning and go hunting, do you think they'll be there? He goes, well, they're damn sure not going to knock on the door of this trailer and come, and you're not going to get to kill them that way. So
Exactly.
I mean, it's hard going cross country somewhere like that, devoting the resources and the time and the travel to go somewhere that you might not, have your bearings or have a strategy. It's like, well, sure, I'm just going to go sit and see what walks by.
You do have to be okay with having the mindset of I could possibly come home without anything and be okay with that, because it's very likely in a state like Maine. It's very likely. So you gotta enjoy I know it's very cliche, but you gotta just be in the moment and enjoy the experience. But it's beautiful up there. I see thousands of Canadian geese, turkeys like you wouldn't believe. Last year, it happened to coincide with turkey season, and I shot a turkey from my saddle. This little Jake comes strolling down the hill, and he was hauling tail and just stopped 42 yards. And I'm like, it's been a slow season, so shot a turkey at 42 yards. So, yeah, it's always a good time, though. And then when I get back from up there, tentatively I have possibly another trip with some, actually 2 guys that are on shooting staff with me. They want me to go to Missouri with them to do some public land hunting up there. So I might do that as well. So I'm going to have a pretty busy year this year. So
there you go. Well, anytime you want me to tag along and you can give me a how-to on my saddle setup, I've got, I think I might have let it set all last year. And then I got out early in the springtime and I think I tried it. So probably by next year I could be fluent in it. But my buddy Marcus Sukup just keeps giving me grief because I won't. He's like, you got to try it, man. You can hunt anywhere, anytime, any tree. Like you got to get out there and learn to swing. And it's like, I'm going to get the little back support where you can just lean back in it like that. That's
the back bend.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a pretty bad back. I've hurt myself a couple times pretty bad, and I've had some bad history in my back. And that's one of the beauties of saddle hunting. People will ask all the time, like, oh, I've got a bad back. How's that going to work? And, man, it's great because you can put pressure wherever you want to. Like you can adjust the saddle to put pressure on your hips, your legs, your back, however you want it. It's super customizable. So I have done a ton of all-day sits in my saddle. I never have back issues. So,
it's not that it's more comfortable. It's that you can move easy. Like you can't move a tree stand. You can't get any other way than how you are. And when you hunch over and you get sore, you're done. You're going to be sore for the rest of the day. Like that's
either sit or stand. That's the only options you have.
Exactly. Saddle, you can prop it up. You can kick it out. You can lean your legs in. You can get the knee pad. I got the knee pads on mine. I was like, what? You gave me a hunting setup and he sent me knee pads. What kind of stuff is like, dude, you have to get them because you just rest your knees together or you can spread them out. You can lean your head against the tree. You can get 16 different ways in the saddle and be at least not uncomfortable how you were. And it's quiet. Absolutely. It's mobile. You don't have to. There's nothing creaking. Like once you cam that stand down in there, nothing's moving that. That thing's rock solid.
Absolutely. But being here in Texas, when it comes to hunting, something that's always on my radar is exotics. That's something that's great about Texas is there are opportunities to hunt axis and other species year round, and that's one thing that keeps me here in Texas is that there's a lot of opportunity like that. And one that's kind of on my bucket list right now that I haven't aggressively gone after trying to do this, but I'm going to soon is hunting a nilgai with a bow.
I knew that's what she was going to say.
Yeah. It's surprising to me how many people don't even know what a nilgai is to start with, which I guess if you're not from here or not familiar with exotics, why would you know what it is? But when I first moved to Texas, someone started talking about nilgai. I'm like, what is a nilgai? And I found a picture and I'm like, this is like some moose bred with a horse, bred with a goat.
That's exactly right.
Here's my thing. I'm going to say this. I have never seen a European mounted nilgai, and every one of them that's ever been shot should have been European mounted. It's just not a good shoulder mount. It's a whole horse head, and you got that much. You can't even see him. It's so tall. If you put it low enough, it takes up the whole room. Right. So basically, you got a 3 to 4 inch horn on top that's all the way to the ceiling. Yeah, and that's a monster one. And you got to shoot him with like a 45-70 lever action 6 times to kill him. So
the only thing I'm concerned about when I think about hunting nilgai is how quick is it going to my freezer, because I know they're delicious. Yeah, and there's a lot of meat on them, so that's a win-win for me. But yeah,
they are. What are you building for a setup for them? It's a pretty hefty animal.
I don't know. I'll probably see. I can get away with lower poundage than a lot of people because of my draw length. Like this old Result 36, I'm shooting a rip TKO out of that right now, right at exactly 300 feet per second at 73 pounds. And Result 36 is not a fast bow, in case anyone was wondering. So you put me into a bow that's more of a speed bow, and I'd be shooting in the 320s probably pretty easily. So I don't know. I may consider building a higher poundage bow. It would not be a lot for me to draw 80 pounds. I draw 73 right now like it's nothing. I've shot the same poundage all through 3D season too. I shoot a really heavy arrow, so I'm used to shooting 73 pounds.
You probably get a pretty good deal on arrows if you was going to test a new build, don't you?
I mean,
it's not going to stop you from experimenting just a little bit.
No, but probably my setup would be I would probably build me an 80-pound bow, and I would probably build a Rip SS, which if you're not familiar with Rip SS, It's the same as our VAP SS, just in a 204 diameter. It has it's the weave carbon, has a stainless steel mesh that's woven into the base layer of the carbon. So people are familiar with FMJs. I can't for the life of me understand why people still shoot those things, but this is in that same category where if you want a heavier arrow, that's the one to build. Most 27, 28-inch draw length guys are going to be right at like 500, 510 grains right out of the box with a 50 grain insert, 100 grain head. So you could easily get to 575, 580 without a lot of work with that arrow. My draw length, I could probably build a 575, 580 grain arrow really, really quickly. And that's probably what I would shoot. You know, I'd probably shoot me a good fixed blade. You know, I'd probably be able to shoot that arrow at, 280, 285 feet per second, and that thing would do the job for sure.
It's gonna hum. It's all that you get it out of the draw length. So that's speed, dude. If you could buy draw length, man, everybody would shoot 300 foot a second.
Yeah, everyone's like, must be nice. I'm like, I had nothing to do with it. It's just
what are you 30, 29, 30?
It's 30 and 5/8 is my draw length. 30 and a half, 30 and 5/8. Yes.
Yeah, draw lengths are a hindrance. People think it's not. I'm at my shortest draw length right now at 32 3/4.
No kidding.
Yeah. I'm normally right at 33, but I'm at 32 3/4 right now. And I'm
not fun like people think. They think it's great. It's
not.
Tall. Like I smack my head on everything. It's not fun.
Thank you. That's right.
Yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be.
We were talking to one of the kids at the local shop, and he's grown probably 2 or 3 inches this summer. And he's like, my draw length's short again. I was like, hey, your peep sight's going to be too low. It's going to keep happening for about 3 or 4 more years.
I
was like, until you get to Dave's height, you can shoot any bow on the market. Once you get to 6'6" and above, you shoot 3 bows on the market, and I hope they come out with something next year.
Yeah, I'm luckily at that point where it's like I can make a 30-inch draw length. I can stretch out, make it work. There's some guys like yourself, Dave. It's like that's a problem. There's only a few bows you can shoot.
I'm shooting the same bow I picked up in 2020 because a long draw bow hasn't gotten any better.
Right. Yep. Yeah. It's frustrating, but from the manufacturer's point of view, it's like that's such a small percentage of sales.
That's right.
Right. So they don't have a lot of incentive to build a really fancy bow that checks all the boxes like the flagship bows do. It's tough. So
I respect that. I do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
that just made me think of something. Just saying that small percentage. We were talking about target archery earlier. That's something that, going back to the staff shooter thing, I don't think people in the target world realize what a small percentage of sales that target arrows are versus hunting arrows. That's not a knock on target archery. I love it just as much as anybody, but the dollars and cents of it is hunting is where a vast majority of sales are. So when a manufacturer of any product or a dealer makes the mistake of focusing solely on target archery, you're in for a tough ride because you've just cut out about 85% of your market.
You think it's that low? I remember back in the 90s when I was staff shooting with PSE, that was one of their things is like, you realize that 97%, maybe 98% of the bows we make are all hunting. Maybe 2% are colored. And so I would be surprised that it's less than that now. I would say, and
this is just me shooting from the hip with this statement. I haven't really researched it, hard facts lately, but I would dare say, if we're just talking bows and arrows, just straight archery across the board, I would say target archery is no more than like 7 or 8% of the business. I really don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could be off. I mean, that's something I probably should look into a little bit. Have some
from like an ASA standpoint, we try so hard to get them to rig up a 3D shooting bow. You need a tournament bow, and a lot of them shoot their hunting bows, and now they have a class to do that. So you might not see the people that just want to commit to a target bow, but everyone with the target bow buys trail cams, broadheads, deer corn, camouflage, the new HHA slider sight when it comes out, every year. So and when there's a new model of hunting bow out, you just can't kill deer with last year's bow. I mean, you got to get a custom machinist job to convert your 36 to it. It's like, it's like everybody's hunting. That money's always going to be there. That's what sustains it.
Mm-hmm.
The target archery's got to be a supplement to it. And the guys that think just because they shoot better than 90% of, Bubba Joe rednecks out there,
Mm-hmm.
they're still getting their money, and they're always going to be more important. That's what keeps the businesses going. Like we don't have target archery and all the, the Vegas and the ASA and all these big stuff. Like that's because of what the industry's doing. So we gotta get them all on the same page.
I think an area that we could all improve on the target archery side is cultivating target archers by reaching out to hunters. I think the Total Archery Challenge and things like Tim has going on with the shot experience and all that, those type of events, I think that's a prime ground to get a hold of hunters that want to shoot foam, introduce them to ASA and other 3D type events, bring them over. If we could be a little bit warmer with those introductions and reaching out, I think there's a great opportunity there. And then those hunting guys, a lot of them on the surface, like, I don't care about target archery. They don't realize, just like for myself, I'm not a great 3D shooter. I'm a middle of the road K50 guy. Like I'm not coming home with any state titles anytime soon, But I hold my ground. But I can tell you from experience that going down that rabbit hole target archery, you learn your equipment exponentially better. You get fine-tuned on what does what with your bow, and you learn yourself. You learn about habits you have, what you can improve on. And if you put enough arrows through a target bow, you pick up your hunting rig and you go shoot 40, 50 yards, and you're only looking to group something like this versus this, it's cakewalk. It feels like a chip shot every time. Not to diminish how hard hunting is, that's not what I'm saying, but just the shot process, I think every hunter should spend some time target archery, shoot target, even if it's with their hunting rig.
I shot my target bow at the state 900 and had just the worst day at just huge groups at 60 yards. And I went and shot my hunting bow at 50 and 40 to see if my tune was falling straight at 6 o'clock, and plus or minus a little bit of wind drift, shooting groups like that. And it's like, there's no shake from the magnification. And this bow's 6 pounds less than my target bow. Like it was awesome. It was a good day behind the bow where it'd been a struggle 24 hours prior. So you get that, you get both sides of it. It just gives you another way to go shoot. And my favorite thing telling them is that when you go do buy a target bow and commit, it saves your hunting string. So you don't have to replace them every other year, because these guys, like Travis Long was shooting his one elite hunting bow. I think it was a Remedy, maybe shooting it all year round, went through the strings for indoor. And he's like, hey, get new strings for hunting season. I was like, oh man, that's why you get a target bow. But,
I myself, I like to cultivate the hunters because they want to buy more spices.
Telling you, they're the ones out killing deer.
I've yet to find a target guy who want to put some of my stuff on the foam animal and eat it.
Yeah, you take someone who's strictly came into archery on the target side, whether like Olympic recurve or however they came in, and all they do is shoot target, but they don't hunt. It's real hard to get that person interested in hunting. It's not hard to get a hunter interested in target archery.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity there in our industry to help grow the whole industry, by, cultivating that side of shooting and grabbing some more of these hunting guys. And I came up that way like a lot of people do, but I think we all could, reach out and do a little bit better job at making those guys feel welcome, because it is a little bit of a weird clique, whether we realize it or not. And the target archery side, we don't realize that we're like golfers, or it's like, you've never golfed in your life. Stepping onto a golf course is quite intimidating. You don't know the rules. You don't know the equipment, and it just feels foreign to you. So
you don't want to be looked dumb. Exact. So
I don't want to wear this pants.
So we've got, just why I know you mentioned the guys from Shot 3D Experience, Tim and Jeremy and Brian over there, our buddies. They came up this year and they were like, dude, we're trying to have more ASAs. We still got to run our shots. We want to have an ASA lane. We want to have a qualifier at the shot events. So for the two of them, and I can't give any of their scheduling detail stuff out yet, but for the two Oklahoma ones, if it's a Saturday, Sunday event, we're going to do a Saturday only qualifier and then hang out Sunday and try to, because no one will have shot that range yet. So they've shot the other two all on the beginning of it while they're not shooting the qualifier. We're going to get them to come shoot like a fun round on it because they've already, got their shot passes for the whole 5 courses. So we'll have a qualifier one day, and then the next day do it like a meet and greet where I told them it's like going to get us in front of 300 to, maybe up to 1,000 bow hunters that don't know anything about shooting 3D tournament archery. So we're going to get to do that at both our Oklahoma ones. That was something I got to talk to the head guys at the ASA at the national meeting. And I was like, they're not scheduling them on top of qualifiers. They're going to all the qualifiers. We're trying to work them into the schedule, but there's not enough weekends. They want to have a whole qualifier range totally separate just for the ASA. And then they want to make it a recruiting event on the other day where it's like, hey, everybody, come check this out. It's not, here's how you score it. Here's what the classes are. There's a class for you. So stuff like that in 2025 is going to be huge in Oklahoma.
No, I'm looking forward to the year. I think there's some cool stuff going on everywhere, and it feels like more and more people are coming to archery, and this may just be anecdotal, from what I'm seeing around here, but it seems like the community is growing. So I think the more we can continue to make people feel welcome and be, more on the introductory level and help people see it's not that complicated just to get in this and have fun, I think the whole industry will, prosper because of it. So I give those guys like, Sean from TAC and those guys that shot, that I give them a lot of credit because it's not easy to put those events on. The average person sitting at home, they don't understand how much work it is to get out there and put all those targets up and just put on an event like that. So my hat's off to those guys. And I think that events like that, like TAC and SHOT, they've done nothing but help grow this community. And I'm seeing a difference in sales at my dealer level in the springtime because of it. These people they've hunted all fall through the winter, they've put it up, and then they're just itching for springtime because they're like, ooh, TAC's coming up, and they get reinvigorated to dig their equipment back out and kind of have a second hunting season in a certain way, Go
to your local archery shop the week after the big shoot schedules come out, like the shot schedule or the TAC schedule, stuff like that. Go to your local archery shop the next week and see, and just like, dude, this is turkey season. This is a ghost town. Like, come on. And they're lined up out the door in like February or March or something like that. And I'm standing there with an ASA schedule going, hey, my name is Neil. I'm not going to stop talking to you until you come shoot one of these. And that's pretty much how it goes. So, well, Chris, I appreciate you sitting down with us. You giving us like a little bit of a insider's take on what it's like to kind of represent such a good group of companies. Tell everybody out there where they can follow along with you. Give them your socials, how to get in contact with you if they had questions, and run through your reps there real quick.
Sure. So I mean, the best way to if you want to follow, connect to me is Instagram. Really, it's just Chris Nickerson TX for Texas is how you find me. It's interesting because I just reposted a screenshot of a notification I got the other day. Apparently, Instagram doesn't like how much hunting content I put on there, so they've restricted my page. So only my followers can even see anything I have going on. So, hey, tell your friends. Let's see if we can share my page and break the algorithm a little bit. But yeah, Chris Nickerson TX is the best place to find me right on Instagram. You can read. I keep up on that pretty well. So a lot of people will message me on there if they've got questions or whatnot. That's a great place to reach me. Just shoot me a private message. I always check my my message requests and stuff like that. So I really try to pride myself on staying available to people. I sometimes I try not to give my phone number out to everybody because I can get a little crazy sometimes, but I do have people that'll call me every once in a while. Hey, I got your number from a shop or whatever. And I'm always willing to help people. So whether it's you need a gear recommendation, some tuning info on arrows and what we offer, man, feel free to reach out to me. I love helping kids. I got a young lady, Maddie Joe. She's got a page, Maddie Joe Outdoors. She shoots out the bow barn here in Greenville, Texas. She's got a little following. She's growing. She's got a real short draw length, small poundage. Been trying to help them get a good setup with that. So I enjoy stuff like that. So anyone's got a small question or just anything involved with the outdoor space, let me know. I'd be happy to help. If I can't help, I'll point you to somebody that can. So
I say these people that come in are a resource, and they're more than happy to share their time with you. It's not only what they're here for, but that's like why that, the old saying, if you do what you like, you never work a day in your life. So I wish you the best of luck. Keep doing what you're doing. Good luck chasing elk. I hope you get one. We'll if you send us a big old picture, we'll put you on our page and tell everybody how to get in contact with you.
Yeah, even if I come home with the smooth head, I'll let you know. I'm not against this. So there's some meat going to be going into my freezer this week, hopefully. So, but David, Neil, thanks guys for having me on. It was a real pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you guys again here soon. So,
Chris, thanks a lot, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.